All right, y'all, welcome back to the channel. It's just me today. I'm here chilling with Steve, the windmill pond behind me, and I wanted to share an article with y'all. Hope y'all have been enjoying some of these podcasts we've been on. If you check out our community tab, we were on the David Knight Show. Me and Matt were on Friday. And the link to that is on our community page, as well as we were on the Alsamar program. That link is also on the community page if you want to watch the extended version, the non-expurgated version, where we talk about things that the tubes doesn't please the technocratic oligarchy. You can go check out Alsamar's channel on Rumble. And this video here is going to stay on the backup channel for about a month or so. We're coming out of timeout next week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and we're going to you're going to love it. So, but we're going to stay away from some of the taboo things until at least one strike falls off. We're going to try to maintain our main channel if we can. So, also looking for some suggestions. We purchased Restream, and then we upgraded it, but I'm not really happy, and they have terrible customer service. They have no customer service. They have no way for us to contact them, but we paid like $500 for the software, and it's real quirky. Like, for example, I filmed this video once, and it was like a 60-minute video almost with no audio, and other times when we try to stream from Restream, it just doesn't function properly, and the quality drops and different things. Let us know if you have any experience with other streaming services, StreamYard or whatever, and who's the best. And we'll take any and all recommendations. But let's jump into this article here. This article comes from Newsweek, y'all. So this isn't some tinfoil hat conspiracy. This is a major mainstream, lamestream publication here. And this is May 17th, 2021, exclusive inside the military secret undercover army. And I would be very surprised if any of you listening to the sound of my voice has ever even heard of this or is familiar with it, which is why I wanted to share it here. But here we go. The largest undercover force the world has ever known is the one created by the Pentagon over the past decade. Something new. Some 60,000 people now belong to this secret army, many working under masked identities and in low profile, all part of a broad program called Signature Reduction. The force, more than 10 times the size of the clandestine elements of the CIA, carries out domestic, and foreign assignments, both in military uniforms and under civilian cover, in real life and online, sometimes hiding in private businesses and consultancies, think public-private partnerships, some of them household name companies. The unprecedented shift has placed an ever greater number of soldiers, civilians, and contractors working under false identities, partly as a natural result in the growth of secret special forces, but also as an international response to the challenges of traveling and operating in an increasingly transparent world. Yeah, our world is so transparent. Isn't it great? The explosion of Pentagon's cyber warfare, moreover, has led to thousands of spies who carry out their day-to-day work in various made-up personas. Oh, that's so cute. The very type of nefarious operations the United States decries when Russian or Chinese spies do the same. It's always rules for thee and not for me. Do as I say, not as I do. Newsweek's exclusive report on this secret world is the result of a 2-year investigation involving the examination of over 600 resumes and 1,000 job postings, dozens of Freedom of Information requests, and scores of interviews with participants and defense decision makers. What emerges what emerges is a window into not just a little-known sector of the American military, but also a completely unregulated practice. No one knows the program's total size, and the explosion of signature reduction has never been examined for its impact on military policies and culture. Congress has never held a hearing on the subject, and yet the military developing this gigantic clandestine force challenges U.S. laws, the Geneva Conventions, the Code of Military Conduct, and basic accountability. Welcome to the beast. Welcome to Big Brother that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, regardless of the red wave, regardless of the R's, regardless of the D's. The beast just keeps getting bigger and beastier and burlier. And there's no accountability. And it violates the Constitution. It violates posse comitatus. It violates the Geneva Convention. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? The signature reduction efforts engage some 130 private companies to administer the new clandestine world. Public-private partnership. Welcome to fascism, y'all. Total fascism. Dozens of little-known and secret government organizations support the program, doling out classified contracts and overseeing publicly unacknowledged operations. Altogether, the companies pull in over $900 million annually to service the clandestine force, doing everything from creating false documentation and paying the bills and taxes of individuals operating under assumed names to manufacturing disguises and other devices to thwart detection and identification, to building invisible devices to photograph and listen in on activity in the most remote corners of the Middle East and Africa, or down the block when they're listening to me and you. Middle East and Africa. I wish they were in the Middle East and Africa. Well, I don't wish they were in the Middle East and Africa, and I don't wish they were here in America, and I wish they'd get honest jobs delivering pizza and that they'd leave us alone. Special Operation Forces constitute over half the entire signature reduction force. The shadow warriors who pursue terrorists in war zones from Pakistan to West Africa, but also increasingly work in unacknowledged hotspots, including behind enemy lines in places like North Korea and Iran. You mean to do false flag work and to feign themselves as a North Korean, or maybe as a Ukrainian, or maybe as a Russian, or maybe as a Chinese, to maybe instigate a world war or something like that. Military intelligence specialists, collectors, counterintelligence agents, and even linguists make up the second largest element. Thousands deployed at any one time with some degree of cover to protect their true identities. The newest and fastest growing group in the clandestine army that never leaves their keyboards. These are the cutting edge cyber fighters. This is like Johnny in his grandma's basement. No. These are the cutting edge cyber fighters and intelligence collectors who assume false personas online, employing non-attribution and misattribution techniques to hide the who and the where of their online presence while they search for high-value targets and collect what is called publicly accessible information, or even engage in campaigns to influence and manipulate social media. So think of that's why we got the Second Amendment, and we need to get our guns, and we need to topple the regime, and all that stuff. Think of all these color revolutions all around the world, right? That our CIA and that Cambridge Analytica brag about on their resume, right? And then just think about what if they do that here in America, all right? If they influence and manipulate social media. And you never know who you're corresponding with online, especially in threads, wherever they may be, YouTube et al. Hundreds work in and for the NSA. But over the past 5 years, every military intelligence and special operations unit has developed some kind of web operations cell that both collects intelligence and tends to the operational security of its very activities. like whoever the clown was that went 5 years back into our YouTube history and picked some benign video to give us our second strike. That certainly wasn't an AI thing. In the electronic era, a major task of signature reduction is keeping all of the organizations and people, even the automobiles and aircraft involved in the clandestine operations, masked. This protective effort entails everything from scrubbing the internet of telltale signs of true identities to planting false information. Oh, you mean like false flags to protect missions and people? As they're real, it's all about protecting people. You're right. As standard unforgettable. I'm sure as they protect people, lots of people die. That's usually how it works. There's lots of collateral damage and democide, and 95% of democide is collateral damage. As standard unforgettable identifications and biometrics have become worldwide norms, the signature reduction industry also works to figure out ways of spoofing and feeding everything from fingerprinting and facial recognition at border crossings to ensuring that undercover operatives can enter and operate in the United States, manipulating official records to ensure that false identities match up. Hey, why do we as U.S. citizens have to be subject to fingerprint scanners and facial recognition? But these supposed 60,000, and I think you could probably add a zero to that 60,000, like they're going to tell you, like it's anywhere remote to 60,000, and people are worried about 87,000 new IRS agents when you got 60,000 spooks that are in addition to the CIA, deep staters trotting around all over the globe and in your backyard and at your favorite retailer under some assumed identity. Just as biometrics and real ID are the enemies of clandestine work, so too is the digital exhaust of online life. One major concern of counterterrorism work in the ISIS age. Got to trot out the boogeyman, the ISIS. We haven't heard anything about old ISIS. We haven't needed them as long as we can say Russia, Russia, Russia. We don't need to trot out the old ISIS boogeyman because now we got the new old boogeyman. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's the old Russia boogeyman. We never really talk about China except we want to demonize Sloppy Joe and all that China nonsense because we really kind of want to be like China, like when Orange Man said, yeah, we got to do all that track tracing stuff just like China. You know, like Brzezinski Brzezinski and Heinz Kissinger when they started the whole thing in the Anglo-American establishment and Tragedy and Hope, right? When they purposely handpicked China to bring to fruition what's happening right now. The abundance of online information about individuals, together with some spectacular foreign hacks, has enabled foreign intelligence services to better unmask fake identities of American spies. Signature reduction is thus at the center of not only counterterrorism, but is part of the Pentagon's shift towards great power competition with Russia and China. Competition, influence, and disruption below the level of armed conflict, or what the military calls warfare in the gray zone, a space in the peace-conflict continuum. The old gray zone, when we got to stir the pot, when it's a little too gray and a little too peaceful, and we're not generating enough money for, military contractors, for all the Raytheons and the weapons manufacturers. That's why we got to do what we're doing right now. One recently retired, but that's weird. I thought that was all organic and that just happened. Then you want to know why the rest of the world hates America, right? It's because they do this kind of junk and they've been doing it for 100 years. One recently retired senior officer responsible for overseeing signature reduction and super secret special access programs that shield them from scrutiny and compromise. Oh, they get shielded from scrutiny. Says that no one is fully aware of the extent of the program, nor has much consideration been given to the implications for the military institution Everything from the status of the Geneva Conventions, where a soldier operating under false identity to be captured by an enemy, to congressional oversight is problematic. Oh, it's problematic. That's cute. Isn't that nice? Oh, yeah, this could be problematic. Nobody knows how big this thing is. We got a bunch of 60,000 people that are all invisible and have multiple personas and footprints and can be whoever they want to be and do whatever they want to do with no oversight. Yeah, what if one of them was rogue? What if none of them are rogue? What if they just do what they're told to do? Talk about scary. Talk about problematic. He worries that the desire to become more invisible to the enemy not just obscures what the United States is doing around the world, but also makes it more difficult to bring conflicts to a close. Oh, really? That's cute. Maybe that's why we've been in an unending war for the last 100 years. Most people haven't even heard of the term signature reduction, let alone what it creates. He says the officer spoke on a condition of anonymity because he is discussing highly classified matters. The Secret Life of Jonathan Darby. Every morning at 10 a.m., Jonathan Darby embarks on his weekly rounds of mail call. Darby is not his real name, but it is also not the fake name on his Missouri's driver's license that he uses to conduct his work. And the government car he drives, one of a fleet of over 200,000 federal vehicles owned by the General Services Administration, is also not registered in his real name or his fake name, and nor are his magnetically attached Maryland state license plates really for his car, nor are they traceable back to him or his organization. Man, I just think of like Oklahoma City and Timothy McVeigh, where Darby works and the locations he visits are also classified. Huh. I just sound so much like Oklahoma City. Darby's retired from the Army, and he asks that neither his real name nor his cover name be used. He served for... Man, this makes all this kind of conspiratorial, like, Lee Harvey Oswald stuff. Sounds like this sounds like they've been doing this for a while. He served for 20 years in counterintelligence, including 2 African assignments where he operated in low profile in Ethiopia and Sudan. Now he does it right next door to Johnny in America. Masquerading as an expert businessman, now he works for a Maryland-based signature reduction contractor that he asked Newsweek not to identify. Thanks, Newsweek. As Darby makes his rounds to some 40 or so post offices or front mailbox stores in the D.C. metropolitan area, he picks up a trunk full of letters and packages, mailing a similar number from rural addresses back at the office. He sorts through this take, delivering bills to the finance people and processing dozens of personal and business letters mailed from scores of overseas locations. But his main task is logging and forwarding the signature reduction mechanisms, as they're called, passports and state driver's licenses for people who don't exist, and other papers, bills, tax documents, organization member cards that form the foundation of fake identities. To register and double-check the authenticity of his daily take, Darby logs into 2 databases. One, the Travel and Identity Document Database, the intelligence community's repository of examples of 300,000 genuine, counterfeit, and altered foreign passports and visas, and the other, the Cover Acquisition Management System, a super secret register of false identities where the mechanisms used by clandestine operators are logged. For false identities traveling overseas, Darby and his colleagues also have an alter database of U.S. immigration and customs to ensure that those performing illicit activities can return to the United States unmolested. So we're supposed to think that the federal government is incompetent, right? And they can't do stuff, and we can't make voting machines that work, and we can't do mail-in ballots that work, right? We can't do all these different things, right? And it's just because they're too big and they're incompetent. But yet they can do junk like this, unmolested. For identity verification, Darby's unit works with secret offices at Homeland Security and the State Department, as well as almost all 50 states in enrolling authentic mechanisms under false names, a rare picture into this world came in April 2013. That was a while ago. When an enterprising reporter at the Northwest Public Broadcasting did a story suggesting the scale of this secret program. His report revealed that the state of Washington alone had provided hundreds of valid state driver's licenses in fictitious names to the federal government. The existence of the confidential driver's license program, as it was called, was unknown even to the governor. Before the internet, Darby says, before a local cop or a border guard was connected to the central databases in real time, all an operative needed to be undercover was an ID with a genuine photo. These days, however, especially for those operating under deep cover, the so-called legend behind an identity has to match more than just a made-up name. Darby calls it due diligence. The creation of this trail of fake existence, fake birthplaces, and home addresses have to be carefully researched. Fake email lives and social media accounts have to be created. Like, dossiers and manifestos that don't get posted to your personal social media until the day before you do something nefarious, stuff like that. Think of different events that have recently occurred in the last 10 years that involve crazy lunatic, loony bird people that somehow suddenly have some kind of manifesto that shows up on their social media before they blow a gasket or the nut falls off the bolt. Almost every individual unit that operates clandestinely, special operations, intelligence collections, or cyber, has a signature reduction section, mostly operated by small contractors conducting due diligence. There they adhere to what Darby calls the 6 principles of signature reduction: credibility, compatibility, realism, supportability, verity, and compliance. Compliance is a big one, Darby says, especially because the world that 911 created, where checkpoints are common and nefarious activity is more closely scrutinized, and where all of our freedoms were stolen and the last vestiges of the Constitution were shredded by a Republican supermajority to keep someone's covert for real and to do so for any period of time requires a time-consuming dance that not only has to tend to someone's operational identity, but also maintain their real life back home. As Darby explains it, this includes clandestine bill paying, but also working with banks and credit card security departments to look the other way as they search for identity fraud or money laundering. And then signature reduction technicians need to ensure that real credit scores are maintained and even real taxes and Social Security payments are kept up to date so that people can go back to their dormant lives. Wow, sounds like a sleeper cell. They're going to go back to their dormant lives when their signature reduction assignment ceases. They're going to go dormant. They're going to go back to their working at their wherever, right? Until the sleeper cell, the sleeper cell goes back to sleep until they need to wake it up again. How anybody could remotely be cool with this. Darby's unit, originally called the Operational Planning and Travel Intelligence Center, is responsible for overseeing much of this, and to do so, it operates the Pentagon's largest military finance office. Cool. Endless money to something with zero oversight. I wonder what they could possibly be doing all over the globe and in your backyard. But documentation, as important as it is the only one piece of the puzzle. Other organizations are responsible for designing and manufacturing the custom disguises and biometric defeat elements to facilitate travel. Darby says this is where all the special access programs are. SAPs, the most secret category of government information, protect the methods used and the clandestine capabilities that exist to manipulate foreign systems to get around seemingly foolproof safeguards, including fingerprinting and facial recognition. Signature reduction is a term of art. Numerous signature reduction SAPs Programs with names like Hurricane Fan, Island Hopper, and Peanut Chocolate are administrated by a shadowy world of secret organizations that serve the clandestine army. The Defense Program Support Activity, Joint Field Support Center, Army Field Support Center, Personnel Resource Development Office, Office of Military Support, Project Cardinals, and the Special Program Office. Befitting how secret this world is, there is no unclassified definition of signature reduction. The Defense Intelligence Agency, which operates the Defense Clandestine Service and the Defense Cover Office, says that signature reduction is a term of art, one that individuals might use to describe operational security, OPSEC measures for a variety of activities and operations. In response to Newsweek's queries that point out that dozens of people have used the term to refer to this world, DIA suggests that perhaps the Pentagon can help. But the responsible person there, identified as a DoD spokesperson, says only that as it relates to human operations, meaning human intelligence, signature reduction is not an official term. That's kind of like when they used to say no such agency when they claimed that the NSA didn't exist. So now we have another deep state clandestine CIA, NSA, signature reduction office that has no oversight and no particular name, and nobody wants to own up that it even exists. Another senior former intelligence official, someone who ran an entire agency and asked not to be named because he is not authorized to speak about clandestine operations, says the signature reduction exists in a twilight between covert and undercover. The former, defined in law, is subject to presidential approval and officially belongs to the CIA's National Clandestine Service. The latter connotes strictly law enforcement efforts undertaken by people with a badge. And then there is the Witness Protection Program, administered by the U.S. Marshal Service of the Justice Department. It tends to fake identities and lives of people who have been resettled in exchange for their cooperation with prosecutors and intelligence agencies. The military doesn't conduct covert operations, the senior former official says, and military personnel don't fight undercover. That is, except when they do, either because individuals are assigned sheep dip to the CIA or because certain military organizations, particularly those of the Joint Special Operations Command, operate like the CIA, often alongside them in covert status, where people who depend on each other for their lives don't know each other's real names. Then there are an increasing number of government investigators, military, FBI, Homeland Security, and even state officials. I am not that old, y'all. And this stinking rotten beast keeps getting bigger and bigger. And there's CIA, FBI, NSA, Homeland Security, signature reduction. I'm not even thinking of all these deep state organisms with super gigantic budgets, And I posted the video. I've posted the article down below. You can read the rest of it at your leisure. But can you imagine just the implications? We will never know reality ever again. Okay, we will never really know what happened anywhere at any time, who it was perpetrated by, when, how, or why. It all can be seamlessly fabricated with triple redundant backup, fake identities, fake license plate, fake everything. And then these people will go to sleep back to their sleeper cells until they see the bat signal in the sky, right? And then they got to come out of hiding once again and don their persona and do their Timothy McVeigh thing, And it's really fascinating. It's hard to believe. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. It's just incredible. And they put this stuff out in this mainstream news articles. It's so fascinating. And everybody is completely unaware of this. And I mentioned this to a lot of different people in casual conversation. Hey, ever heard of signature reduction? They're like, what in the world is that? And I said, you should really check it out. You should look into it. It is incredible. But yeah, that's all for now. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on signature reduction and what it means to transparency and hey, when you're dealing with a postmodern, post-truth world, what better way to create a post-truth world with no oversight, a bottomless budget, and all these clandestines. They're faking fingerprints and hand oils on latex sleeves that people wear, and they can pass a fingerprint biometric. Same thing with facial recognition. It's unbelievable. But that's what they're just trying to keep us safe, y'all. Meanwhile, what do we have to go through? Try to get on an airplane. It's so unbelievable. But that's freedom. So, hope y'all have a great day. Hope you enjoy this video, and we will see y'all in the next video. Talk to you later.